my name's Matt Dobbs. I'm the chairman of the Stride Technical Committee, and here we have a series of videos with some practical advice for farmers on how to improve mobility, reducing lameness in the UK dairy herd. A herd of cows is made up of individual animals, and each animal is an important contributor to the success of that herd. And when it comes to mobility, every cow matters. So in this series of videos, we'll tell you how you can address an individual lame cow and ensure the health and welfare of an individual cow is paramount.
Hi, I'm Gillian Whitehurst. I'm a regional head of farm for IVC Evidensia Farm Vets. I have previously been a dairy vet in practice in the Midlands, and I'm also an AHDV mobility mentor.
Hello, I'm Catherine Timms. I'm the ruminant vet advisor for Seabright Animal Health and have been for the last 11 years. Before that, I was in mixed practice in the Midlands. Individual cow mobility management is so important to start with the heifers, because heifers really are the cows of your future, and if they get issues as a heifer, what can happen is, whether that issue is an infectious cause or a claw horn lesion, is that they're more likely to then have that issue again once they join the herd. And we also know that once we get inflammation within the foot, it changes all of what's going on in the foot. So it changes the fat pad and it can cause bony changes. And those changes are irreversible. And therefore that also means that they are so much more likely to have the problem again and again. And obviously that causes losses time after time.
I think it's important to make the distinction between a foot trim and a foot check. So if we are doing routine trims with the dairy cows, we're likely to do the trim at dry off and a check at 60 to 90 days post calving. The trim at dry off is to reset the foot balance and make sure we've got correct weight distribution, check for any lesions. The post calving trim check is to assess whether we've got any bruising or early lesions so that we can apply a treatment. The difference with heifers is that we're likely to, some heifers won't actually get a trim until they enter the dairy herd, but increasingly we are encouraging foot checks or trims pre-calving, so around 60 days, 2 months before they calve, again to make sure that we are balancing the foot and looking for any early evidence of lesions. Again, they will get checked at 60 to 90 days post-calving once they're in the herd.
So prevention and early identification now is one of the mainstays of trying to manage mobility on farm. The sooner we can identify cows as lame, as soon as they start showing us any signs of lameness, means that the foot's picked up and we can look at what lesions starting much sooner, which hopefully means that we're actually catching the lesions when they're much less severe. The longer those lesions stay there, the more severe they get, and obviously the more impact, the more long-term damage that happens in the foot. Those things are obviously firstly much harder to fix, and in some cases impossible to fix. The changes that go on in the foot are often there permanently, so the bony changes and the effect on the fat pad won't then resolve, meaning that they're much more likely to happen again and again. So we're basically looking at a different foot if we identify it very early and treat it very early, meaning we're much more likely to succeed.
The importance of the dry off trim is to ensure that we get the robust foot. We want that foot shape to be correct. We want the pressure to be taken off the areas where we might get solar ulcer disease, and to check that there's no underlying lesions that are causing lameness at the point of when the cow goes the cow is going to be dried off. We want the cow to start early lactation not lame, because that's going to impact her dry matter intake, milk production, and also, if we are going to see lameness in cows, it's more likely to occur in the first 100 days of lactation.
So mobility scoring gives us so much data on farm that we really need to use to get the value out of it. And what we can do is we can monitor how things are going. We can look at things like how many new cases we've got, how many chronic cases we've got, and it's really the value of mobility scoring. If we don't actually do anything with the data and develop things like treatment lists, which cows need looking at, which cows need perhaps culling out the herd, then almost there's no point doing it if we don't use the data. So it's making sure we get the best out of all those numbers that we've got.
So best practice for treating clawhorn lesions would be a functional trim, application of a block, and a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory injection, preferably one that's got a 0 milk withhold. When I talk about a functional trim, I think it's important to mention there's a few key changes in how we do that based on recent research. So we're now looking at the average toe length for the Holstein cow to be between 8 and 8.5 centimetres, and also we're looking to preserve the toe angle, and when we're modelling out or dishing out, we're using the wider dish model on the lateral claw of a hind foot and a medial claw of a front foot.
So the best practice treatment for infectious lesions is to clean the lesion really thoroughly and make sure it's dried. We then would recommend applying a topical licensed antimicrobial spray to the lesion. And new data has also shown us that actually the cows really benefit from a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory injection. It's shown that actually a week later, more cows return to sound, and they also put a lot more milk in the tank when they've received the injection. So especially as there's products on the market that have a 0 milk withdrawal, it really lends itself to giving them that support to help them improve.